are you?
Excellent. Thanks for joining us today on episode number 114 of the Tech Sales Insights. Really excited to have Joe Koenig with us, who is president at Worldwide Technologies. And just to save me time as we go through, I'm just going to call it WWT going forward. So
Sounds good.
looks like
one thing too, Randy.
little,
Remember, we've known each other for a long time. You have to learn how to say my name right. It's Koenig, not Koenig. Come on.
Koenig.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me that in the prep session, not live. Koenig, Jesus.
Well, you never
I
said
got that
in the
wrong forever. My God, Joe Koenig. Oh,
There you go.
all right. Appreciate it. So for those that are members of Sales Community, thanks so much. If you're not, you can go to salescommunity.com and you click on Winter Free to get a free membership. I recommend clicking on that one as opposed to the paid membership, but feel free to do whatever you want. And we're sponsored today by Gong, who's the revenue intelligence sponsor Sales Community. They've been focused in the call recording area, now going into forecasting, sales enablement. And the kind of analogy I put is, if you think back to the ERP days, you had all these different Sybase, Informix, everybody else. Oracle kind of emerges as a leader, and I think that's the track that Gong is on as well. So if you're not familiar with them, definitely check them out. And you can click on at Sales Community. You can see their logo is prominently displayed and find out more about them there. So Joe, I think we're trying to figure out, I think we've known each other for 30 years. You've done a little bit better job keeping your hair. But when you started there in 93, I had kind of 3 years left there at EMC. So we think we overlapped, and then I went to go run a VAR, and then we think we overlapped there. And then I had some exec jobs at Storage Tech, Sun, and HP. But I think we both think that HP when I was there, and WWT was such a huge, great partner for HP, is probably where we started work together. And obviously lots of impressive things, but I always found that you're really fair, responsive, and really just a great person to be around and be with. And it's really amazing how kind of WWT started small, probably in some of that Fed area in the SMB, but then really grew to be a trusted advisor to some of the largest accounts. I can remember firsthand kind of seeing that. So places like Comcast, Citi, JP, B of A, and now you've got these huge trusted relationships based on, kind of how WWT can deliver and obviously take care of a whole bunch of complex problems. So that's been really great. And especially in the charity front in terms of how you kind of pay it forward, pay it back, I guess, depending upon what you want to say. So really cool. And then I've got some from some other friends, have some good comments here. So we'll get your head big for a while. So Bill Hogan, CRO at Beyond Identity, says Koenig is a St. Louis University grad, former soccer player there, like many of his WWT friends. Aside from running all business operations, $17 billion. That's insane. Grown WWT. Joe himself is a cancer survivor, which we'll talk about. Currently serves a bunch of different chairs. Board of the chair of the Boys Hope, Girls Hope. Chair of the Boys Hope. I'm not saying that right, am I?
Board chair of Boys Hope, Girls Hope.
Oh, Boys Hope, Girls Hope. There you go. Okay, great. There's too many things here. And then board chair of CEOs Against Cancer in St. Louis, also supported a number of other charities, Siteman Cancer Center, United Way, ALS, Ronald McDonald House. And Bill's very passionate about St. Baldrick's, and you've been a big supporter there. And true to your Jesuit roots at SLU, he's a true man for others. Terry Richardson highlights cancer survivor, one of the original founders, WWT, started the business focused on the Fed business. Amazing, wonderful story of diversification into new markets, as they are one of the largest technology solution providers in the world. Greg Ambulos, channel chief at Dell, says, I've known Joan probably 20 plus years. Incredible leader, partner, most importantly, a dear friend, very strong-willed, hopefully that's in a good way, determined and caring man that is respected by all. Matt Horner at EVP at WWT says, cancer survivor, servant leader, almost 30 years as president, WWT, friend to many of the top execs in tech, great dad to 3 boys, wonderful husband and friend to many, humble and yet tenacious. And then we have a late entry here from Frank Roush, amazing leader, authentic friend, strong survivor. So hopefully that makes your day or makes your week.
Wow, I was not expecting that. I'll be honest with you.
It could have easily gotten a lot of others, and my bad. I was prepping last night for like around midnight. I'm like, oh geez, I forgot. So they all did it first thing this morning. So anyway, we also have our title topic is perseverance at work and at home. And obviously live in St. Louis, and obviously very focused in work, family, your charities. You're going to be a grandparent in a few months, so you're going to be called Grandpa Joe or Papa Joe.
I'm not sure. I hope it's not. I hope it's something like that, and not something that I do not like to be called. There's some bad ones. There's some bad ones floating around out there. I'm telling my son, don't do it. Do not do it.
There you go. And you've been a big golfer and supporter of golf and PGA for a long time. And this week you also have the St. Louis City Soccer Club. The new franchise has their home opener, and they're undefeated at 1-0. So that should be exciting as well.
Yes, we're really looking forward to that. The city is really lighting up for this, and it's a new chapter, and really pumped up about what it's going to mean to the downtown area and the city at large. So really, really excited.
Awesome. Just got to get TWA back and have a hub there, and then you could fly everywhere nonstop, right?
Yeah, exactly. That'd be fun. Well, and on the city front too, with Jim Kavanaugh, who's our CEO, he's a part owner of that franchise. So that and Worldwide is the official technology sponsor of that franchise. So that combination is going to be a lot of fun for us at Worldwide, for Jim, but as well as the city at large. So it's going to be some fun days ahead.
Oh, awesome. Very cool. And then just a reminder for those watching, it's LinkedIn Live. So you're either watching and or hearing us. We cannot see you, but you can see or hear us. So some people have already started to chime in with some comments. We've got Tucker behind the scenes that will pull those up. L'Oreal Black says, hi guys. Xavier says, good morning all. Thanks. And L'Oreal says, love your honesty and candid spirit. And Rick Diana is praising L'Oreal Black, I guess. So that is very cool as well. So feel free to keep any comments coming and any questions, and we'll kind of ham and egg back and forth. So your first job back, way back in 1987, was at CSC. What did you do there?
So actually, I worked for a small company that was acquired by CSC called Telic. And I was a consultant, started out as an associate consultant, working on a project at Southwestern Bell at the time. And then I moved to a full consultant role for US West was my customer back then. And then moved to a senior consultant and worked with a small telco company called United Telephone, if anybody remembers them. And was really focused on an application called the Universal Dispatching application. And it was fun to learn about technology. I majored in finance, but here I was learning about applications, databases, the hardware itself that it runs on, and then teaching it and training it, and so forth. So I learned a lot about that. That put me in a very good position to when Worldwide Technology needed a salesperson to jump over there and start, in this so-called startup at Worldwide. That was about 3 years into opening up the doors, about an $8 million business. They put me in, like Jim Kavanaugh and I room together in college, played soccer together, and he asked me to come over and be a salesperson for Worldwide back in '93. And it was a fun run. I was a sales for the Department of Defense in and around St. Louis. There's not a lot of DoD activity in and around St. Louis, but enough over at Scott Air Force Base here. and then some of the National Guards and so forth are around here. So that's where I started my sales career, was doing that. So it was a lot of fun. Learned a lot about what I don't know how to sell as well. But it was a learning experience working with about 12 people at Worldwide at the time, and had to do a layoff.
12 employees then.
So yeah, we did about, at that time in '93, we had about, I think it was like 7 million in revenue, about 12, 15 people, somewhere around there. But then we did a layoff because we lost a big contract that we had. And so we were down to, maybe 10 or even below 10, and then had to start kind of all over it. And we almost, I think, Randy, I think I've told you this before, but probably 2 or 3 times the bank was on the way to shut us down for good back in '93. And so it was some real tough times that we went through, and ones we remember, and we can never forget, to really keep us grounded. No matter how successful we may or may not become, those days will live with us forever, because those were, you were at rock bottom back then. And never forget those points in time, because they will keep you humble as you move forward.
That's it, stole my words exactly there. And then kind of what was your progression? So you kind of started as an early rep basically, and then ended up key position running the company as president. So what was that progression?
Yeah, well, it definitely helps me only have like just 10 people to move up.
Hey, we need somebody the title here. Okay, who can we put in here?
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier to move up, I'll be honest with you. But so I moved from a sales rep to having a sales manager, having a few people underneath me, to then being a director and running, a number of groups around, say the federal space at that time only. And then I was director of federal, and then moved into a vice president of federal and some commercial business at the time, or enterprise, and then was VP and GM of all sales at that time, and then moved up to the president role in 2002 or three, I believe, and been there ever since. And so my main job right now is really, I spend all of my time in the sales organization. That is about go to market, that's about selling, that's about our professional services, that's about the value play in general. That is where I spend majority of my time. There's another individual, Tom Strunk, who is our CFO/COO, and he runs the operational side of the business. So it's been a great run for me. But like I said, you always have that little bit of luck when you work with a small company and you're able to move up effectively in areas, but also hire some real smart people below you that really help move the business.
That's great. So maybe touch on a couple of your go-to-market priorities that you're working on this year.
Yeah, I mean, this year is an interesting one. Like everyone probably here knows, there's a lot of unknowns in the industry right now. What's going to happen? Inflation, macroeconomics. Everybody knows what those are, so I won't go into them. But but where we do see where the priorities of our customers are the areas that we all hear about. Yes, they're still around. Become digital transformation, big one, obviously, that people talk about, especially in times like this today. Also, obviously cyber resiliency, or just cyber in general, about the focus on being secure, and leveraging all the, the data that's in and around your networks to help secure yourself around that. Data in general, using that as a platform to help your organization be more efficient, be better as well. And I think some of the areas around cloud, obviously, is a large one. People trying to figure out, should I move my workloads to cloud? Should I not? Should I be on-prem? All the different challenges that we all know about. It's about being cloud smart, not cloud first, and that's where we're focused on. How do we help take that message and ensure that our customers have enough information to make the right decisions for their business, knowing that all businesses, they're not the same. So we're very careful about, prescribing whether it's cloud and cyber and data, and infrastructure modernization is still a play that's out there that we spend a lot of time on, and really ultimately driving technology and business outcomes. That's what we have to do. We have to understand our customers, their care about what's important, their measures of success, and then tailor what our business is all about to create those outcomes. And that's where we spend a lot of focus.
That's great. Do you do anything special to, say, value selling side, but, kind of, you always have the tech, your 50 slides of all the technical mumbo jumbo, but do you have any secret sauce that you do that actually helps, say you're selling to a CIO, CTO, kind of helps them go to a CFO and say, okay, don't worry about the technology. Here is that business outcome.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have, we obviously have a bunch of our technology experts, right? I mean, and technology could be the enabler of driving those outcomes, which is true. But sometimes we start from the bottom of the technology layer and go up, and sometimes we start from the outcome and go down. And how we do that is we have our chief digital and chief technology advisors that really help drive that conversation. They're not talking about, hey, let's put in this next widget of technology. Let's talk about what an outcome means to you. Let's understand your business. And here's what we believe, whether it's about, time to market, or it's about reduction of cost, or it's about driving revenue. Here's those outcomes that we want to solve for you. And by the way, in order to do this, we'll need to have this layer of services, this type of strategic consulting, and then ultimately this type of a platform to help drive that. So those are the areas that I think we're spending a lot more time. And I tell people, our reps, our partners, and so forth, how we sold 5 years ago, we cannot sell the same way today. It won't work. We have to be thinking differently. Our customers are smarter. The business is changing and evolving. We have to evolve and stay ahead of the curve in order to best service and apply those types of outcomes to drive those areas for our customers.
That's great. So great point there. So besides the obviously technology changing and evolving, anything else that you'd say has changed in the kind of sales process?
Yeah, I think the tools have definitely changed that we have access to, right? I think it literally can make our people smarter, adapt faster, and also message what I think our reps, or I should say our customers and partners, want from us. So I think the tool sets have been great, whether you're talking about Salesforce and all the extension tools that would be on top of that, or one-off type tools that, we use a platform called MindTickle that I think is good to help really drive, I'd say, enable our sales teams to be better. Whether they're 101 classes for certain types of technology or how to sell in general, they certify. We make them video their pitch. They're evaluated by our managers and leaders, and that just makes them better. And so we're finding different tool sets that we believe will position our team to be more effective in selling as we move forward. And then in order to stay abreast of technology and the industry, I always, really promote to our sales team, you have to have a passion for learning. If you don't have that passion to learn, then that's a problem, because things are moving fast and you need to move fast with them and stay ahead of that curve. So I think having that passion for learning, coupled with the tools, and then coupled with good partners around us and solid people, underpinned by a culture that is high performing, that's, I think, the recipe for success for us.
Yeah, that's great. So similar to how you're selling to your customers, kind of saying, here's the value, similar tech stack companies come to you and say, look, okay, here's how we can improve your revenue and your profitability and acceleration and all that. And, it's amazing. It used to be the kind of analogy, it was all kind of mirror data. Now, kind of all this coaching and, kind of companies like Gong that do a great job helping, giving feedback real time on cause and slicing and dicing data works out amazingly well for sure. And before I forget, what about on the partner side? I know you have probably hundreds or thousands, but you've had kind of a handful of partners that have been kind of a beachhead over time, right?
Yeah, there have been obviously some. Our biggest one is Cisco. Obviously, has been just a phenomenal partner since I remember working with them in 1995. So they've been a growing partner for us since. So that's a long time ago. Other partners like when you were at HP, now HPE as well, big partner of ours. Dell, enormous partner of ours. You also have the NetApps and Palos of the world. That I think you name it. There are VMware's, IBM's. There's a number of very strong partner that really creates this ecosystem that allows us to really drive innovative solutions to our customers, especially as a partner of all of those, and obviously many more up and coming ones, as well as like I see Bill Hogan on here, like Beyond Identity as an example.
Passwords. What about passwords?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, by the way, I have Beyond Identity on my laptop, Bill. FYI, I'm using it and my phone. So FYI, but it's being in a position we're in to be able to leverage all the best of breed and disrupting technologies out there from our partners allows us to get very creative and really, like I said, innovative, and to provide real outcomes from a technology side to our customers. So we're in a very good position, and we love to evaluate and look at all technologies to ensure that we're putting those in the light that where they should be with our other partners, as well as obviously our customers.
Yeah, and you go back. I mean, I'll say, I don't want to insult you and say VAR business, now solution provider might be a better way to say it. But, back in the old days, it was you were selling, any of those platforms, and that was the sale. Now it's really kind of, you've got your intellectual property, your secret sauce around the methodologies and service providers and business outcomes. You're, slotting in, obviously, all these different technologies to help with the outcome, but kind of this other layer in terms of the differentiation. So you're just not reselling. How do you make sure you guys stay ahead on that front?
That's a great one. I think one of our secret sauces, I would say, is our Advanced Technology Center. We call it our ATC. And, that is call it a B2B platform that really drives an area that is an ecosystem with all of our partners. Right now we have now 6 different data centers that make up our Advanced Technology Center. That probably equates to about 500 million worth of products from our top partners and disruptors, where we provide the ability, sandboxes, proof of concepts, education, training, and the ability to prove out technologies that not necessarily that they are just one technology, but maybe the combination of a Dell and other technology partners that are complementary to Dell, or a Cisco with a NetApp, with a VMware, those types of integrated solutions. While some of these are very good individual components, when you bring those together with our platform, our Advanced Technology Center, it's game changing when we move forward. And that's what we've been able to see as a huge value play, is using these labs that really help drive those innovative solutions for leveraging this ongoing ecosystem that represents all of our partners.
Wow. So back in the old days, it might be you'd get a bid from a customer that says, okay, we want this Cisco switch. And I'd imagine now it's more of, okay, hey, help us improve and grow our wireless environment, which is made up of several vendors, a lot of your, kind of, I'll say, secret sauce in the technology center, a lot of your services people. So these, from a competitive perspective, customer might have whatever 4 or 5 different, hopefully they just have WWT, but they might have 4 or 5 different people that could come up with 4 or 5 different solutions, right?
Yep. Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, when you think about this from a kind of a life cycle, you think about the creation of an idea. The idea then is proved out in our Advanced Technology Center from a technology layer perspective. And then, then obviously procured. And then also then if it's a number of racks that we're building, then we have a very second to none, global supply chain capability with areas within, large 4 million square foot footprint here in St. Louis. And then also in, Amsterdam, India, as well as Singapore, that creates the ability then to do the supply chain, the rack builds, the technology infrastructure builds, and then ship to our customers for our services people to then, get engaged as well. So it's an end to end from that idea to ultimately the outcome that becomes that.
That's great. And because you're so deep across all the different technologies, I would imagine you can kind of easily outflank somebody who may just be a Cisco VAR as an example, because you've got, it may be beachhead on Cisco, but you've got lots of other kind of bits and pieces and technologies and services that can provide a better solution, probably faster, more efficiently, lower cost as well, right?
Exactly. And that's what we try, at least. And that's our goal, is to be able to provide that end-to-end capability and go not an inch wide, but I mean, a mile wide, an inch deep. But I want to go very wide and very deep in a lot of different areas. And I think we have a lot of the experts that have come from a lot of different environments, whether they're former C-level people inside of organizations, or they're former VP of ITs, as well as where the rubber meets the road type people, engineers, that combining all of that strength of knowledge and capability and expertise, that really helps drive the capability and the credibility to help really enable these solutions.
That's great. And then speaking about credibility, new solutions. So you have a Bill Hogan, who you knew a long time from NetApp days. You have a Frank Roush, who you knew from HP and then VMware days. Now they go to smaller companies. So with Bill, Beyond Identity, Frank recently, Cato Networks. So that must add some credibility where you know them, like them, trust them. Previously, you may not have looked at those companies, but if they're kind of betting their job and their lives on it, then that helps you maybe get a closer look at those technologies and then actually be interested in putting those as part of your portfolio. Is that how it works?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, to me, and you know this as well, I mean, relationships in this space are absolute key. And, whether they're, Bill or Frank or the many others that we all have, I mean, when these respected people move from one organization to another, we'll absolutely accept their call to understand more about what they're doing, because they're good people, they're trusted people, and it's those types of people we want to always do business with if possible. So happy to really spend time with all the people as we network and build relationships. Those are, to me, the most important areas as we've evolved as Worldwide, has been our relationships and trust we have in people as they evolve and go to other positions.
Great. So Bill and Franks for the shout outs. And we also have from Carl, blessed to join WWT this past June. The organization is truly the gold standard amongst solution providers. Terrific culture with extremely talented people in all roles throughout the company. Awesome new office in New York City too. So very cool. So that dovetails well into, I think you've been on the Fortune 100 best companies to work for list for 10 years in a row. So you must be doing something right and something amazing in terms of culture and why people want to work there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great validation. Actually, it's been 11 years in a row, and we're hoping to have the 12th year when they announce it in April. So fingers crossed on that one. But just, it's a validation that the things that we're doing, it's working, it's resonating. But it's not the only thing. I mean, it's a great one to have about and focus on. But where we'll spend a lot of time is on our people and our culture and what we're doing, listening and providing feedback and just getting perspective. How can we improve? We are not a perfect organization by any means, and we need the feedback. We need other opinions to help us, shape us, and guide us as we evolve, as a business evolves, moving forward. So very excited about the Fortune best companies to work for list. And but there's a lot of other things that we spend time on. I always say that if someone said, "What is your secret sauce?" I always say our people and our culture. I mean, it really is. I mean, I've been here for 30 years, and I can tell you that if you asked me 30 years ago about the importance of culture, I would have said I have no idea. I don't even know what that means. I can tell you this: I know what it means now, and the importance of what that does to an organization. And by the way, not only the importance of what that does to an organization, but if you can build that trust and that culture inside of Worldwide, and then we can focus on extending that to our partners, extending that to our customers, and then ultimately the community. That is something that we are very, very focused on every day, as how we can evolve and change and stay in front of all of those areas and be very, very effective.
That's awesome. All right, Bill, I'll allow him the shameless plug. Bill, if we had our act together, we would have had a link that tied into sales community for a free trial or something like that. But anyway, Bill says, Joe, thanks for the shout out for Beyond Identity, and happy you're enjoying the liberation of passwordless through our platform. Revenue leaders like you need to push their CISOs like you have to put passwords in the past, improving their security. I mean, just what a pain in the ass. You always have, remember, it's HP, fortunately sales community, we're not as strict, but the, kind of having to update those, and there's always these funky things and you can never remember them. But anyway, so Joe, thanks for that. And Rick says they're fortunate to have you, Carl. So again, for those watching, feel free, love the comments. Feel free to ask any questions. Lots of wisdom here with Joe for sure. So before I forget, we have, I didn't ask. So from an openings perspective, I know most companies are kind of tightening down, but you guys are still growing. Any openings in particular that you guys are looking for now?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I mean, this year is a bit crazy, and there's a lot of unknowns to it. So we're very cautious about what we're doing, as most companies are, as you see a bunch of the layoffs that are happening out there. But there still are, I call surgical openings that can help, where we need a person or services people or a body in certain areas that we believe make sense that can drive an ROI sooner than later. That said, it is something we're watching as the industry moves, as to what we'll be doing, kind of moving forward. But we continue to invest in certain areas, but very cautious where those areas are and how much we're investing at this point.
Oh, awesome. So before I forget, so our title topic is perseverance at work and at home. And the one hand, people would think of those as kind of very different, but I think you've got a great point of view that they're really combined. And maybe first and foremost, be remiss if we didn't talk about, I don't know the detail you want to get into, but your cancer side, you're given 50% in 5 years, so that must have been a huge wake up call.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it is. First of all, it's kind of a bit surreal when someone says you have cancer, and then a month later they say you have 50% chance to live in 5 years. And you think about that, well, that's not that bad of a percent. Wait a second, that's not the best percentage either. So you have to focus on. I train my mind on focusing on the 50% positive side of that, and that's where I was focused. And the one thing about when I talk about perseverance with other cancer patients or even on the business side, there's one thing that I always talk about first. When you're in times of adverse times, my first thing is build a team. The team is an important piece around you. Whether that's talking about I'm a new employee at a new company, or I didn't hit my number, or our business is not having a good month or quarter or year. You have to build the team around you, and or whether it's personal. I just was diagnosed with cancer, or I have I'm going through a divorce, or I had a family member pass. Build your team. That team around you that will help guide you, push you, and challenge you when you need it the most. And I think that there was a quote that I wrote down. I listened to a podcast, but when you go in front of when you're supposed to climb a very large mountain in a height, for example, that height becomes 30% less, hard when someone's next to you and working with you in that climb. So having people around you, having a support system around you is very important in very difficult times. And so I had that. I was blessed to have that with my wife, my family, a bunch of friends. Jim Kavanaugh, our CEO, was there all the time for me. And so I had that and a bunch of my other coworkers as well. So when you're in a difficult time, I always say, build your team around you. And then, you have to, you can't, there's another quote that I always use that someone wrote, actually John O'Leary in a book called On Fire, is that you can't always choose the path you walk in life, but you can always choose the manner in which you walk it. So that's up to us. No one else is going to do that for you. That is your choice. So it's a matter of choices that we all have in business and, in personal crisis. Those are choices that we have to make, but your team around you will help influence those with you and will challenge you on those. So I think to me, it's so important now than ever, is you have to have the mental mindset in order to get through some difficult times. I use this when I was briefing. You may be asking this later, but when I was briefing this 4-star general over at Air Mobility Command, he asked me to speak to his leadership team about building a high performance culture and perseverance. And so I roughly someone sent me a video from the Duke women's basketball coach who was speaking to her team, and her speech to that team was really resonated with me. Her in essence, I'll paraphrase, but it was, everyone always thinks that things will get easier, and I'll equate it to I'll get to the areas of, hey, when you are in sales, if I make my first sale, it's going to be easier. If I'm going to make my number this year, it's going to be easier. Do I make if the company does well, it's going to be easier next year. And her point is, it never gets easier. It only gets more difficult. The next year you have a bigger number, for example. It's going to be more difficult that next year. So you just find ways to handle hard better. And I think that comes with trials and tribulations that we all face every day. You just learn how to handle hard better. And to me, I listened to that. It resonated with me. Through difficult times, you figure out how to handle hard better because of what you've been through. So, for what that's worth, that's what I focus on in terms of dealing with cancer patients when I mentor them, or dealing with reps, or some of our sales leaders around here, and work through some difficult times, but also some positive times as well. How do we amplify our mindset to continue to learn and be better? And that to me is a big focus.
Oh, that's great. And you certainly must have had, a decent amount of time where you're kind of out of pocket, out of the office. So you must have had your team step up big time.
I was basically out for a year. In 2017, I was out from January until October. And October through December, I was barely there. I was in rehab, doing rehab and therapy for most of that time. So my team, Jim, and the sales team all around me stepped up and we didn't miss a beat. And by the way, to that point, 2017, was our best year ever. And so I'm like, okay, hold on a second. That almost makes me a little bit bad. I'll be honest with you.
Well, for another year.
So that moral of the story is, hire good people and they don't need you anymore. No, but no, it was, and I'll tell you, I was so humbled by all the things that people, the cards and notes and things, that little random acts of kindness that people did. And it was phenomenal. And I gave me a different perspective on life, on people, on things that are important. And I was very blessed to have that kind of reflection that I can now look back on and better understand out there.
That's awesome. So tied into that, you mentioned a bunch kind of work ethic. I worry kind of with the younger generation and, kids I talk to that, kind of not being in the office, not seeing best practices, not seeing the example, and kind of culturally, these days really not being able to push people, from that work ethic perspective on the one hand. And then, I'd say when we were growing up, we were just sponges to always learn more and do more on our own. I'm wondering if that's getting lost with some of this kind of younger generation.
Yeah, that is a very good topic. I think that this work from home is difficult. In some ways it's positive for people. In some ways I think a bit devastating for young people. They don't have the camaraderie. They don't have the ability to collaborate, to learn, and so forth. Some do a good job. I'm not going to stereotype all, but I think they still need, that networking component, that water cooler talk, to ask questions when someone's around the corner that people miss. And so I think it's up to all of us as leaders from the work from home is, if you're not mandating people to be at the office and or you're not mandating them to be there days a week, then we have to find intentional ways to get them to the office and to be part of the greater team and get to know their people. I did an event back in early, I guess it was probably in November now, when I think about it. And it was, we brought a bunch of employees in that were new since COVID. And there were probably about 40 people in the room, and I kicked it off and just, introduced myself, a little bit background on the business and all that stuff. But they've been working. And I said, well, how many people have been here for the last, 2 years? All of them raised their hand. I'm like, and you've never visited World, never headquarters? Nope, never been there. In fact, 8 of them didn't, or it was 8 or 10, didn't, they've never met their manager before, face to face. And so, and that's incumbent upon all of us to find ways to be better at that. Video is a great option, but it's not the end all. And I think we have to be more intentional about bringing people together at the right times for the right reason, understanding that people have cost challenges, but what can we do to help enhance and drive this culture, in a different way, since some people are a little bit more remote now. And it's up to our leaders and managers to help provide feedback and an additional perspective on the best ways you can accomplish that, knowing that we have to have some face-to-face with them. And by the way, it's funny, I was up in the elevator the other day, and someone, I asked someone, I haven't seen you in the office. Well, it's my first time back in a while. I'm like, well, is there a reason why that you're not coming to the office? Just sure, it doesn't bother me. Well, no one else is here. Why should I be here? I'm like, well,
lead by, tell a person, lead by example. And I'm wondering too, your 30% analogy where you said people are 30% more productive if somebody's next to them, probably the same, the same notion. So I think you have ISRs, correct? Kind of the cold college selling group. So kind of tied into that, kind of a layup, I think, but kind of words of wisdom for them.
Yeah, it is. It's like, and our ISRs are remote and some come there, but when they're together, I do think they bring a bit different dynamic about, especially the young people who are learning, they're absorbing information and getting some additional context of what they're doing, why they're doing it. They're seeing other organizations. Oh, now I am doing this part. There's an impact group over there. So I think having the ability to meet other people, learn more about the business, see some of the culture in action, definitely benefits an ISR or anyone else within the organization on how, the worldwide technology way impacts people, impacts our business, customers, and the community.
Yeah, definitely amazing. So we've got some other comments here. LinkedIn user says, find ways to handle hard better. Yes, Joe, absolutely. Frank has I think the clip probably from the Duke coach in there. So Frank, thanks for posting that. Amar Preet says, great to make it to this one. Love the thought about giving people reasons to come to the office rather than simply mandating it. Thanks, Joe. So very cool. And Tucker, I don't know if you have the link for the Humantech AI, but Joe, I don't know if you remember those disc profile things that we all did probably like 20 years ago, the kind of DISC. So you might be a kind of influencer, go across different perspective. Amar Preet has this cool company, Humantech AI. You can actually customize it where you put in, like I could put in you, and I'll send it to you afterwards. I should have done it before, but we'll actually give you your profile. So if somebody's selling to you, here's what you should do and here's how you should do it. So similarly, if you're trying to, God forbid, somebody's trying to go, sell to Billy Scannell, it's going to, come up and tell you, here's kind of what he likes, what he doesn't like. My guess is he's probably a strong D and likes things short and sweet, doesn't like things long-winded, likes things in bullets. And they also have a follow-on tool that will actually customize emails to the person's personality profile. So I think Tucker put the link on here. So they're kind enough, I think, to do like a 2-week trial. Then you also have, I've got it plugged in. If I go to my LinkedIn, it comes up as well. So you think about, if you're trying to do partnerships with companies and people, inside sellers, definitely cool product. So Amber Preet gave you a little plug there, and Tucker posted it. And just before I forget, Tucker, about posting it. So let's talk maybe a little on the diversity best practices. Know you do a lot. So we're getting to the end here. So maybe we just allowed kind of 1 or 2 bullets and talking points. And Tucker, maybe also pull up Alexander Group is a terrific consulting partner to sales community. They've got a women's leader CRO event that's coming up in Chicago. So Tucker, I should know. Sorry, Tucker. I think in the late summer or fall. So there's a link there. But anyway, a couple nuggets on best practices for diversity.
Yeah, it was. We hired a 3-star general from the Army, who was the CIO of the Army, to do some work in our federal business. But we also, as an African American gentleman, we moved him into also leading our diversity initiatives, along with our EVP of HR. So those two tab team. And I think some of the best practices that we have found out, obviously a lot of people has their ERG groups that are out there. And, so we have ERG groups for Black, for Latinx, for women, for disabilities, for veterans, LGBTQ plus, and I'm missing a couple, but you get the point. So all of those are
very focused effort.
An executive leads that. A worldwide technology executive member from the executive team is the sponsor. And then they have events like, we had for Black History Month, we had a number of events for this women's, it's coming up this month, where we have different women speakers coming in and speaking, on a webinar as well as live. And they do different events and internally about, best practices and panel discussions and so forth. Same thing for veterans. So I think that is a big one. And then you couple with the speaker series that we have across for all of our company and our partners to really focus in on those ERG groups for different contents and topics that would resonate with those different areas. And then also we have our people have the ability to do videos where they'll call out a challenge that they had that relates to a particular ERG, whether it was, I'm Black and this happened, or I'm a woman and this happened, or in this, and it gives them the ability to really showcase and be vulnerable so that people, I have mental health as an example, a number of those, and it gives them the ability to show what happened. They have the courage to say what happened, but also the vulnerability to let other people open up. They're not alone in some of these areas. And so that has been hugely effective for our organization. And people do love, listening to those. And then and they get encouraged to really confront some of their challenges as well. So there have been a number of best practices around that. We focused on diversity spend, diversity hires, all of that every Monday morning at the executive team level, where we are in our percentages. There's a lot of focus, a lot of inspection, and a lot of sponsorship around initiatives around all those areas.
That's great. So a few more questions here. Time flies when you're having fun. So advice for people breaking into tech sales. There's a whole laundry list of things, I'm sure. Pick one thing you would suggest.
Well, if you're in the tech sales, I go back to what I said before, is you have to have the passion to learn. Because we all know here on the call, technology is ever changing, ever evolving, and someone needs to understand and take the time and have that passion, not during work, You can do that all day, but on your own too. You have to be on your own time, spending time. I had the person talk to me in the past about wanting to be in technology sales, and I'm like, okay, really? And that person worked at Worldwide, doing to be on the outside. And I'm like, so what are you doing to better yourself? Well, I mean, I work here, so I think I'm learning. I'm like, hey, you played basketball. Did you stop when you would stop practicing? You never went home and did free throws or worked on your agility or never your fitness? No, I did it all the time. That's what you have to do in technology sales. You
Yep.
have to hone. You have to have your fitness around technology. You have to work on your own time to be better, prepare for meetings better. All that is on your own time. And so remember that as you, if you want to in there, and then I would say go back, build your team around you, people that you can ask some questions, people that can help you, guide you, and push you as well. Have that mentor that can really help you as well. So I think those are big areas that I always speak about.
Awesome. And then advice for those impacted by recent layoffs in tech sales. Again, one bullet.
Resiliency. Be resilient. Because I do think that good people will find good homes. There'll be. This is a circle. It seems to always be layoffs, then a hiring boom, and so forth. But continue to work hard, network with your people, and I guarantee you'll find a good spot that makes sense for you.
Awesome. And then I'll let you have maybe three or a handful. There's obviously a lot you've had exposure to. What about examples of some sales leaders that you respect and maybe one attribute about them?
Well, I would definitely not call out Bill Hogan because he's not one that I respect, but just kidding, Bill. But there's so many of them. I think that the one that you actually had that resonates with me because it was during some times with me, but you've had him as a speaker on here, and that's Carl Eschenbach.
Yep.
Carl
Yes.
has been a friend, a mentor, a partner as well. And obviously now I know he's the CEO of Workday, but he has spent a lot. We've spent, I'd say, a number of dinners together talking about business, but more importantly about life and prioritization of life. He asked me to back in 2016. He asked me to have dinner with him, read a book before I had dinner with him. So he made me read a book, by the way. And the book was called Halftime. And it was, what are you going to do in the first half of your life is, be successful, whatever your definition of. Go to halftime, figure out what the second half of your life is going to be. How do you parlay your success into significance to others? And so I read that book. We had dinner, talked for 4 hours. And, and it gave me a great perspective because 2 months later, I was diagnosed with cancer. And so it really, I was able to reflect a lot on what that book was about and the importance and priorities in life. So we always, catch up in various times and talk about those areas. So he's one that I definitely would call out. There's other ones like Chuck Robbins and the Billy Channel of the world. I can tell a funny story about Billy if we had time, but there's a number of great leaders that I have been fortunate enough to spend time with, be friends with, but also do business with. And to me, that really marks the really the area around what's important. You want to do business with people you enjoy being around and being friends with. And fortunately, I have had that happen to me with meeting some great people that do great things for a lot of different companies and organizations. So they've been great examples and role models for me to follow. So happy and humbled to be a part of that.
Awesome. Well done. Well, you're leading by example extremely well. And Tucker, maybe I won't read through them all, but some nice tidbits here. Bill Hogan talking about the culture at WWT. Andrew Horner, who I assume is related to Matt one way or another. Pleasure working, WWT. And then Dean talking about the technical acumen, which ultimately is something that's really important as well. So appreciate it. So I usually ask for those that know me if there's any PG Randy story. Don't know if anything comes to mind that's what we're sharing or not.
Well, I would just say that I can go back to, I'm going to guess and say an HP conference in Vegas. And you and I were at a bar. And and we had a bunch of people around us with us, and you said, hey, we should go to this over here, this area, or this bar or location. And I'm like, really? And yeah, let's go. And we went, and I'll just leave it there. Because what goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas, right, Randy?
There you go. Yes.
I'm sure you remember that. It was fun. It was all good fun, but we had a great time.
All good. All clean. Anyway, so you've been awesome. Thanks for the engagement from people watching along. So again, thanks to Gong for your sponsorship. For those that are not members yet of Sales Community, you can go to salescommunity.com/winterfree. And next week, we're going to have Mark Stevenson on, who's a very seasoned CRO as well. And his topic is going to be why ICP is even more critical now for go-to-market teams. So obviously making sure you have the company aligned in terms of ideal customer profile, who you're selling to, titles, messages, kind of all that good stuff. So that will be fantastic as well. So Tucker, thanks for your help behind the scenes as always. And Joe, you're awesome. We wish we had more time, but have a great day, and thanks so much, and good luck for your continued success around all your facets of life, and look forward to hearing if it's Papa Joe or what you end up getting called.
Thanks, Randy. It's a pleasure being here. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks.